Hey, this is Christy, and welcome to this segment for Building Change Now. This is going to be a segment on autoimmune disease and exactly what that is. So what is an autoimmune disease? An autoimmune disease is a disease of the immune system. If you have an autoimmune disease, somewhere along the way your immune system went crazy and it began attacking your own tissues. Whether that was the thyroid, your intestines, the skin, your brain, the pancreas, or any other organ or tissue in your body. In order to treat an autoimmune disease, you have to get the immune system back under control. And no matter what part of your body is under siege, there is one thing that's usually underlying that's the culprit, that is the issue. So in order to treat that, in order to prevent and reverse autoimmune disease, we have to take it back to the immune system and see what's going on to help get that back under control. So let's talk a little bit about Western medicine. Under our current medical system, autoimmune diseases are not recognized as diseases of the immune system on a whole. Instead, they are treated as diseases of particular organs. So depending on the organ that is struggling, you'll have a different specialist to go see, as well as a different name for the disease of the affected body part. If you have multiple symptoms with different organs, you'll probably see several different specialists treating different disease names for those different body parts that are being affected. Unfortunately, in our system, there isn't a unified branch that treats all autoimmune conditions. So cancer is an interesting example of this because you have a cancer specialist, those are called oncologists, who can treat many different types of cancer, no matter what vital organ or system they involved. There are some subspecialists within oncology, but typically they all fall under one umbrella. On the other hand, if you're suffering with an autoimmune disease, you'll see a specialist for each organ that's being affected. So like a rheumatologist for arthritis, an endocrinologist for Hashimoto's or diabetes or anything that's affecting your endocrine system, a gastroenterologist for celiacs, ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, anything with inside your gut, right, IBS. For a dermatologist, you might have a label called psoriasis and so on. If you have multiple symptoms, you're going to be seeing multiple doctors. So most of these doctors, unfortunately, none of these specialists look at how to strengthen and support your immune system. They're just prescribing medications that will hopefully affect and help out mitigate your symptoms within each disease name. So and we're told once we're given a diagnosis for autoimmune issues that there's no reversing it. There's no cure for these. And we're taught how to manage, or hopefully we're taught how to manage the symptoms, which I don't know in your case, but in my case that didn't go over so well. Managing the symptoms usually comes with a prescription for harsh medications that suppress your immune system, among other problems. They come with a long list of side effects that usually mirror the reason you're taking them to start with, which can get super frustrating. If you start reading those lists of side effects and you went in, with a symptom that you were complaining about, say like hair loss, and they're giving you a medication that's supposed to calm down, like for me it was my thyroid, but the medication for my thyroid, that was one of the top side indications of it, was that it would cause hair loss, right? So very frustrating, very confusing, and very hard to deal with. A lot of the side effects that we're looking at, exactly what we were just talking about, fatigue, weight gain, it could be hair loss, depression would be in there. That's a side effect of a lot of these medications. Increased infection rates, and even cancer are on these lists. So your immune system, what is it? What does it do? Your immune system is a system of the biological structure and processes within your body that protect you against disease. The immune system must detect a wide variety of agents known as pathogens, like bacteria, viruses, could be parasitic worms, anything like that that's unknown to your body. And it's supposed to distinguish those from your body's own healthy tissue. The immune system is made up of a network of cells, tissues, and organs that work together to protect your body. And one of the important cells involved are white blood cells, called leukocytes, which come in two basic types, that combine to seek out and destroy disease-causing organisms and substances. Your immune system works to keep germs out of your body and destroy any that get in. When they do get in, the job is to create antibodies to destroy the invader. This becomes a problem when your immune system misjudges your own tissue for an invader and starts attacking your organs. And we're going to discuss some of why this happens. And then we're going to also be discussing what we're going to do about it. So why is my immune system attacking me? There's 5 underlying causes that cause your body to attack itself. The first one that you hear a lot about is leaky gut syndrome. The gut is your the gut is your gateway to health. It's also your gateway to disease. It houses 80% of your immune system. You can't have a healthy immune system without a healthy gut. And gut, I'm meaning your intestines, your stomach, everything that's down there lower in your belly. And a lot of you will probably have noticed this within your own trials on yourself and with the medications and different things you've gone through or that you've taken. You know that if you have an autoimmune disease, your gut has become leaky, meaning that the tight junctions that typically hold your gut lining together have become loose, and it allows undigested food particles, microbes and toxins, and other items to escape from your gut and enter into your bloodstream. All of these particles are recognized by your immune system as foreign invaders, sending your immune system onto high alert and triggering a huge rise in inflammation. It's a continual strain on your immune system, and eventually it causes it to go haywire. And it ends up attacking your own tissue by mistake. And so with leaky gut syndrome, once you've got that, it just opens up your whole system, your whole body to a whole array of other diagnoses and symptoms that will go on unless you get that under control. So the second of the underlying causes is gluten. We hear a ton about this in the news also. Gluten contributes to autoimmune disease in 3 key ways. The first way is because of leaky gut, it triggers your body to release a chemical that tells your gut lining to open up. So you're putting something in your body that's telling it to malfunction. Secondly, it's highly inflammatory. Gluten itself is highly inflammatory, meaning it stresses out your immune system. And thirdly, the gluten protein has a similar chemical structure to some of your body's tissues. It also has a similar chemical structure to other grains. So even if you're not eating gluten, but you're eating things that the protein molecules look like gluten, your body is going to single those out and attack them. Rice would be one of those. And we'll go into talking about that here in a minute too. So they call this molecular mimicry, where your body mistakes tissues or other gluten proteins and attacks them. So your body's building antibodies to gluten, and then anything that looks like gluten, it's going to go after and attack. So the third of these is toxic load. So this is the chemicals and poisons in our food. It's the food coloring, it's glyphosate, it's Bt toxin, it's toxic molds, it's heavy metals such as mercury, which is what the amalgam fillings in your teeth are if you come from, the mid-60s, 70s, and 80s. It's in fish. It's everywhere in the environment. And so the toxic load is how much your body can actually hold of these toxins before it gives way, right? So we have to have some way to take care of that toxic load before it sends our immune system into a full-blown issue and it starts attacking you. The fourth of these is infections. Underlying infections that have gone on for a long, long time will cause autoimmune issues. These kind of infections can be from bacteria or viruses or other toxins that are likely to be blamed for the development of autoimmunity. There's a number of infections now, including the Epstein-Barr virus. You may have heard of that. If not, look it up. It's very interesting. Herpes simplex 1 and 2, E. coli, and they've all been linked to autoimmune diseases. The fifth one of these underlying causes is stress. Stress levels related to illness are on the rise. Our stress level in the United States is on the rise, both emotional and physical stress. has been shown to trigger and intensify autoimmune disorders. Stress disrupts immune function through several distinct pathways. Stress is the body's response to a threat, a wound, an injury, or an infection. Chronic stress, which is the kind you face every day, and along with age, leads to long-term inflammation that never really shuts off, creating autoimmune disease. And once that response is in place, immediate stress will exacerbate it. Just like with gluten, if you put gluten back in your system, you're going to get an exacerbation of symptoms just because you've reintroduced it. Stress is the same way. Excuse me. So reversing autoimmune disease, what does that look like? The first thing you have to do is you have to heal your gut. If your gut is the biggest part of the problem, if you have leaky gut, if you have anything going on in there, it's essential to healing yourself and healing any disease or symptoms you have. 80% of your immune system lies in your gut. Don't forget, for that reason, you have to heal it in order to get through the symptoms and the disease. You have to change your diet. We have to remove gluten, grains, legumes, anything from your diet, nightshades, that are causing issues within your immune system. And sometimes it's stuff that wouldn't normally cause problems, but once you're in a full-blown response or you're in a disease pattern, then we need to remove these things and allow your body time to heal. The next one is cleansing the body with herbs and natural body-friendly items on a daily basis. You have to keep your body cleaned out of all these toxic chemicals and all the toxic exposure we have. You have to get the body cleaned out to give it time and space to heal. The next one is treating for infections. And I don't mean by taking antibiotics, so I really want to clarify that. Treating for infections in a natural way with herbs and different things that we have naturally that will actually do this for you. And it has to be consistent. It has to be consistent, but in a body-friendly way that we're not going to be killing other things in our bodies. And then managing stress load. Managing stress load is as much as having a practice that you do daily, which we'll be talking about also. You should prioritize stress reduction into your day. It has to be something that you do every day, even if it's just 20 minutes of exercise, meditation, doing something mindful for yourself, whether it's, going and getting a manicure or doing some art. If you have trouble relaxing, doing a guided meditation or yoga is always a nice thing. There's many different ways that you can do this, and we'll be talking about creating a pattern of practice where you're practicing positive things and practicing good things in your life that will help heal these issues. So toxic load again, at the root of all of this is a toxic load. If your body wasn't toxic and didn't have all these chemicals and poisons in it from all these different sources, you wouldn't have a disease issue. Toxic load comes from your environment, and your environment is everything around you. It includes your air, the water, the food supply, people, job stress, family stress. And you might say some of these things you have no control over, or you have very little control over. But once we start working through this, you're going to be surprised and find out how much control you actually have. When your toxic load becomes too great, something's going to give. And that something is usually starts with the lining in the gut, whether you recognize that's what's going on or not. But as that load becomes greater and greater, your weakest organ will be the next thing to go. And then the weakest after that, and then the weakest, and it just kind of goes and goes. That's how we end up with more than one autoimmune disease. The organ affected is not the root of the problem. And that's what medicine usually goes after. If you come in complaining, all your symptoms, and they'll kind of pigeonhole you into, okay, it's a thyroid issue. If all my symptoms point to this, I might have MS. If all my symptoms point to that, I have Crohn's disease. But the organ itself is not the problem. The problem is that your gut's leaking. The problem is that things are getting into your system and revving your immunity up. And we want that to calm down. So relieving the toxic load becomes super important. Healing the gut, reducing the stress load, strengthening your immune system. And remember, a lot of times the medicines they put us on do exactly the opposite of that. They're trying to suppress the immune system. And then implement a practice of daily self-care. Very, very important. And to start you off with that, I would like to suggest taking a nap for a few minutes every day, just like these little baby pandas that are sleeping. And I actually just put that on there because I thought it was super cute. But that ends our discussion on autoimmune disease. If you need to contact me, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and we'll be talking to you again soon.